Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order at, what's the exact time? 7:02 p.m. I'd like to call this special town board meeting to order for Monday, October 2nd, again at 7:02 p.m. Can you please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. As I said, tonight's a special town board meeting. The topic is the revitalization of the Hamlet district. As you probably know, there's a lot of revitalization going on in the Hamlet district right now. Currently, there's the new gas station is being developed. The diner is being renovated. It used to be called the Orange Top. That's part of Augusta Properties. The Carlin Warehouse building is being renovated now. It's looking beautiful. The train station, if you haven't seen that, the total renovation of the train station should be finished in about 2 weeks. We'll have a ribbon cutting for that. The Tuxedo Historical Society, which was gifted the old Chase Bank building from Jamie Dimon, I understand, of Chase Bank, is being renovated. And if you haven't been there yet, it should be opening soon. And then, of course, if you live anywhere here in the Hamlet, you should know that you're on a new sewer plant that was opened recently, a $10 million sewer plant that we got opened in January. So those are the kind of things that's absolutely necessary for Hamlet revitalization. And the other big news is obviously Tuxedo Farms is coming on board. If you don't know yet, the Lennar, the biggest home builder in the United States, bought the property from Related, and they'll be starting their construction pretty much now. So that's going on, but tonight we're exploring how the revitalization of Tuxedo can continue and flourish. Councilpersons Deirdre Murphy and Michelle Lindsay have been working very hard to put this presentation together, and the town board was seeking to get input, ideas, because this is a vision for a long time coming, a long time in the waiting and a long time moving forward. This is a real comprehensive idea to try to pull together. So without further ado, I'd like to pass the microphone over to Michelle Lindsay.
Thank you very much, Ken, and thank you all for coming tonight. We really thank you for your interest in the beautification and revitalization of our Hamlet. And we call the Hamlet our historic town center. It's where we come, it's our main meeting place, it's the library, it's the post office, it's town center buildings, town hall, of course, all our little restaurants that have opened up. It's our train station. It's the park where we have holiday celebrations. So this is the area we're talking about tonight. And there have been many meetings since 2015 that have focused on the community building here and economic development. Some may remember a group that was formed called A Better Tuxedo, remember? And we had brainstorming sessions as to what would make our community more cohesive, since we are so many different neighborhoods. What would make Tuxedo as a whole more cohesive? And how can we spur economic development in the downtown? After that, we had a special meeting. It was called a placemaking tour with Orange County different departments of tourism and planning. And the Citizens Foundation, Noreen was involved with that, they have this whole concept of placemaking. And how do you define placemaking? So we tried to define, back in 2015, what made Tuxedo a special place and how can we develop that. We did a little tour. We had Susan Havemeyer came down and we did a tour of the Hamlet and identified things that could be done to improve the downtown area. So there have been many different stakeholders that have participated in different meetings over the years. We had economic development meetings and we divided up into different groups. One of those groups is still very active. It's called POUR, Parks, Outdoor Recreation and Events. And that's the group that Kelly has taken over and done the pollinator meadow up on Route 17A and Route 17. So there's a lot of different groups that have worked over the years to make Tuxedo a really cool place. So in 2016 and 2018, meetings were held with the Department of Transportation to talk about a road diet for Tuxedo. And I participated in the meetings that the DOT held down in Sloatsburg. There were many people who attended those meetings, and the feedback from the residents helped the DOT refine the plans, and they finally did adopt, as we all know, the road diet. The town board at that time in Tuxedo decided not to move forward with the road diet. And that now that we have that situation, we will revisit it again, because it's obviously causing problems in Tuxedo traffic. So I want to bring this perspective of the different efforts that have been going on over the years, just so you see that we have been trying to come up with solutions, and we feel that now is a really good time. We've participated in meetings with the Department of Transportation and the MTA. We've met with Senator Skoufis. We've met with the Orange County Department of Planning, Orange County Department of Tourism and Film, Orange County Department of Economic Development. And over the last year and a half or so, we have really developed an idea not only of what we can do, but how we can get that done. So tonight's presentation is going to look at some of the options we have for the east side. And let's see what else. Before we go on, beside talking about the east side development plans that we'd like to present, the town has also applied for and won an award for a Greenway community study of the entire Route 17 corridor from Steve's Pizza all the way up to Harriman. And we're working with our town planners. Bonnie Franson here is helping us with the Greenway study, and we have questions for the public to answer to help them develop an overall study of what can be done to develop the Route 17 corridor. And maybe, Bonnie, maybe you could talk about that a little bit later after we look at this presentation?
Yeah, Valerie's really heading that up, but
Yeah.
I could speak to
Sort of the goals.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
good. Excellent.
You ready? You need your PowerPoint.
Oh, yes.
You ready for the presentation?
Yeah, that'd be great. Just for you. Okay. Okay, oh, perfect, okay. So why are we here tonight? Well, we talked a little bit about all the meetings we've been holding over the years. Tonight, we're here to identify some key areas that we can build consensus around so we can move forward and actually get done in the downtown area. There are funding sources available from New York State. There's two particularly. It's called the DRI, the Downtown Revitalization Initiative, and Port Jervis was just awarded $10 million to revitalize their downtown. There's another funding source called New York Forward, and those are similar grants for downtowns that have plans in place and are ready to go that are not in the 10 million range, but for smaller municipalities such as ours. But there was one awarded in the $5 million range to a smaller community. So that's what we're here for. We're trying to identify and build consensus so we can have an actual plan that we need to submit for funding. Okay. This arrow. Okay. So, Hamlet revitalization and beautification. What we're looking to do is get a cohesive, achievable plan. Achievable is a key word, and cohesive is also achievable. We want an overall plan that will address these issues: pedestrian safety and connectivity, safety and traffic calming, business district parking solutions, and beautification while maintaining the integrity of the Tuxedo character. Lighting and landscaping will be a key element. These objectives that are listed here were in the town's comprehensive plan, which was originally conceived in 2003 and reviewed, and also finally, I think the last revision was updated and adopted in 2018. So we went back to the comprehensive plan and pulled out these objectives that are relevant to our discussion tonight. Connectivity again, it specifically mentioned that we need to enhance the pedestrian access to the commercial district from all the different neighborhoods and eventually trying to connect to Tuxedo Farms so that they are part of our community as well and not separate. We need additional public parking. Now, right now, the public parking is Powerhouse Park and the train station. On the western side, there are only 8 public spots available. The rest are privately owned. Pedestrian safety is very important. We need better sidewalks, we need walkways, we need bike lanes. Streetscapes is a concept that's used by town planners, the Department of Transportation, and it includes lighting and landscaping options. It is all, final thing is beautification with signage, benches, bike racks. And these were a lot of the concerns that were raised when we met with all the different stakeholders in town. Oops. Oops. Okay. Help. Aha. Okay, as Ken mentioned, the Tuxedo Local Development Corporation was funded by the developer of Tuxedo Farms. And in the early days, the initial $1 million that they had given, made available for the town revitalization went to the initial renovation of the train station. If many of you do remember when it was the police department, and so the funding from the LDC partly funded that, as well as, of course, private donations. But at that time, money was also used to build the Tuxedo bus shelter by Tuxedo Square. More recently, a few years ago, money was given to Tuxedo Hudson to revitalize the IGA building and to Steve's Pizza. And very recently, this year, as Ken mentioned, the Historical Society was given funds, the Augusta properties, which included the old Orange Top, the Carlin Building, and the Tuxedo train station renovations that are.
Let me point out, those are matching funds.
Yes, yes, yes.
Very important concept.
Yes.
Doubles the power of the money invested.
Yes. This year, they were matching funds. Previously, they were outright grants. Okay. And so I got this number, $1.5 million is about what has been spent.
Right,
Yes.
which is the other important point. There's another $500,000 available for projects.
Yes.
So if
Yes.
you have a project,
And you're a business owner.
and you're a business owner or tenant,
In the Hamlet Business District.
there's money waiting for you.
So what we are attempting to achieve here is to enhance the physical appearance of the downtown business district and We talked about pedestrian walkways, providing connectivity all the way from Powerhouse Park through the, what we'll show you, the park next to the train station, through the business district, and to the school. So we're seeing that as a whole of a connectivity project. We do need to adhere along the sidewalks to New York State DOT specifications. And the MTA also has a plan we're taking into consideration in our proposals. And we also are looking at the current changes in traffic patterns due to the road diet in Sloatsburg. We want to develop a collaborative plan with the town board, all the stakeholders in town, the businesses and residents. And we want to support and complement the Tuxedo LDC projects that are already underway, using the comprehensive plan as a guide because that was very well thought out. So what are the challenges? So as we know, Route 17 is our main street. What we need to do when we think about improvements and any modifications, that it's all subject to DOT approval. The DOT, the Department of Transportation, has a right-of-way that starts from the inside of the curb and goes a certain distance and abuts private property. There's no instance when the DOT right-of-way abuts town property. So if we need to expand, then the sidewalks, then we need to talk to property owners. Right now, we don't have a survey which will identify exactly what those borders are, the DOT right-of-way, the private property right-of-way, and so that is a real need and a challenge before we can move forward. And of course, funding challenges, but you know, as I say, there are many New York State programs that are available. We just need a cohesive plan that's ready to go. What are the DOT specifications we're talking about? Well, they own their right-of-way. The town is responsible for maintenance of these sidewalks, but all we can do is maintain them. We can't replace them. Well, because all new construction would require, by the DOT, surveys, engineering drawings, and permits. The new sidewalks would need to be a minimum of 5 feet. Currently, between Hospital Road, you know, here at the bottom of the town hall, and the light at Library Road, the sidewalks are only 4 feet wide. And that would need to be widened. And the DOT specs that lighting and landscaping, if we were to incorporate that as part of streetscape, would need an additional 2 feet per element. So instead of a 5-foot wide sidewalk, if we wanted to put trees, lighting, we would need 7 feet minimum. So this is what we've done. We've gone to all the different residences, the libraries, the historical society, and we have talked about what are their concerns. And this is, again, it certainly is worth repeating, but this is what we keep hearing. Pedestrian safety, traffic calming, lighting. When we come downtown in the wintertime or at night, it looks like nobody's here. Connectivity between all the different areas of the town. And streetscape beauty, including landscaping and architectural elements, are very important to the people we spoke with. The east side is what we're going to look at tonight. This is the side where the train station, the post office, and all the way down to the orange top and the ambulance corps building. So these are the existing conditions on the east side. They do actually have, in some sections, 8-foot wide plus sidewalks. So we can do some streetscaping options. There's a lease option for additional parking available through the United States Postal Service for that little park area between the post office and the parking lot next to the liquor store. So that's an option we've been following up on. And there's the current LDC projects on the east side are, as Ken mentioned, the old Orange Top, the Carlin Building, and the train station. The east side can provide connectivity to all the municipal parking on that side. That's where most of the public parking is. And then utilizing that, adding to it, improving it would allow, be helpful to businesses developing on the eastern side. So we're looking for beautification, connectivity, safety, traffic calming, and parking solutions. Okay, section 1. Now this corresponds to your questionnaire. Have they been handed out?
We will be handing out a questionnaire.
Okay.
But I think we need more than what we have here.
Okay.
Which is a good thing.
Okay,
On
so.
your opinions. You want it?
Sure.
Just pass it around, and we'll
Okay.
get some more.
I'll keep one.
Sure. You want me to pass it around?
Oh, sure, that'd be great.
Thank you. I don't know, I only had 15.
Okay, so we'll get some more copies. Maybe if you could share, just let Bonnie know.
I'll get some more of it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jay.
Already ran out.
All right. So you don't have to fill them out now, but if you would like to, you certainly, if you have a pen with you, you could jot down some ideas or when you get home tonight. This presentation will also be up on the website if you want to review it before filling out the questionnaire.
Michelle,
Yes.
could you define connectivity, please?
So what we feel we have is sort of Powerhouse Park, and then we have downtown businesses, and there just doesn't seem to be a flow to how people get from one to the other. Does that make sense?
Does that mean I can walk from one place to the next place to the next place?
Well, you can
At
now.
the end?
You can certainly
Well, yeah.
walk now, but there are many areas where there are no sidewalks. You have to walk in the road. You have to walk in Store Road. You have to walk in Library Road. You have to walk in the parking lot of the train station.
So ease of going from one place to another.
And safety.
By foot.
By foot, safety, well, or bike riding.
We just have to use microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I already asked the question.
Okay. Well, the question was about connectivity, so hopefully people at home heard that. Okay, so here we are. The east side. This is sort of a preliminary plan that was developed by Burgess Associates as part of the Town Center study. We're going to start sort of at the northern section of the hamlet and work our way down. So here's East Village Road crossing over the railroad tracks. What you see here also is in sort of the terracotta color, an idea for where a walkway could go to make it safer for people to walk from the Powerhouse Park to the train station parking lot. And if you look just below the terracotta, you see the hatch line. That's the road, the one-way road that comes from East Village Road to the train station parking lot over on the left. And we found out that that's called Antonelli Road. It's a town-owned road, so we can do, what we want with that. We don't have to, that does not require DOT specs. But we have other ideas for that area. This is what it looks like now if you were standing on East Village Road. Look at the bottom, you can see the train station building in the distance. And also same at the top right, you can see to Route 17's to your right, you can see the train station. And then the picture on the left is if you go north towards Dottie Audrey's area and look back. So there's that road and a little piece of grass area. So that's the current conditions. This is now standing along what is called Antonelli Road, that one-way road, looking at the memorial wall on the other side of Route 17 and towards the entrance to Tuxedo Park. This is what we're thinking it could look like. So we've taken pictures of different little tiny parks. The areas of these pictures is very, very small. And so since that area we're talking about between East Village Road and the train station parking lot from Antonelli Road to Route 17, it could incorporate sidewalks, it could incorporate benches, landscaping, to really give it a sense of place. And that goes back to the concept of placemaking. There's some other, oops, is that the same one? Okay. More options. Now here, this little park in Spring Lake, New Jersey, happens to have a clock there, and I love their topiary, like fish, because they're an ocean town. But we were thinking that we could incorporate a 9/11 memorial or it as a central focal point. Okay, that was section 1. Now, section 2, still on the east side, but we're looking at the train station parking lots north and south. And this is another drawing. To the right, you see what we were just talking about with the walkway through Antonelli Park. This drawing has very lightly, you can see the parking spaces on the track side, but what the focus of this drawing is a different way of creating a walkway. The terracotta could be between the berm that's currently there. The parking spaces could be shifted to the east, and a nice, safe walkway could be incorporated there to just make it safer. This is what it looks like now. So you see the berm, Route 17, and the cars. So if we shifted the cars back, we could build a walkway. This is a drawing that was done probably about 20 years ago that was under consideration when the train station was going to be renovated. And you can see that they had a different idea for the berm, but those ideas could be incorporated on the other side, not the Route 17 side. And here's a detail by the train station, by the tracks. So we can certainly take ideas from there. This could be something similar that we could do there, creating, especially on the right, if you see, sort of a berm on the left with a walkway. Okay, next section is section 3 between the post office and the retail store parking lot. This is what it looks like now, looking from the post office south. And that sidewalk is only 4 feet wide. So it would need to be widened in order to have streetscapes and also to make it safer. Now this lot, as Jerry knows, is owned by the U.S. Postal Service, and down in Washington, I've talked with them quite a bit about a lease arrangement of the land, and the town would do the improvements and pay a lease to the Postal Service. This is looking another view on the left, and this is looking from the parking lot by the liquor store, looking north. So that whole thing, all the way to the railroad tracks, would be available for combination of additional parking and a little park, meeting place. Another drawing on the right. Burgess just did a very preliminary concept drawing on the left of what that could look like with additional parking and a park with architectural elements. And now we're going down a little further to all those retail businesses, all the way to the orange top. Okay, this is on the right. This is where we have 8 and almost 9-foot sidewalks. So we could do streetscaping there. And on the left is what it looks like. On the right are some ideas of what it could look like. The lighting, you see they have sort of alternating trees and lighting and some ground landscaping. And these are what we talk about when we talk about safety for pedestrians, but also traffic calming. When you have what we have right now, as you see on the left, there's nothing to really slow people down to take a look at what's happening in town. It's just a throughway. It's just boom, right through town. But if you have these elements on the right that are doable because we have the space, it'll slow people down, take a look and say, there's a sense of placemaking going on here. So this plan was a concept that was included way back when in our comprehensive plans. If you could see, it's there's 4 feet wide, includes some of the tree plus a little bit of the terracotta brick. And so this is what we would like to propose for the east side in front of the retail stores. But it could also actually go all the way down to the orange top, because the sidewalks there are wide enough. Here's another idea of what it could look like. Okay, this is where we are right now. And fortunately, we have the space to do streetscapes. We would like to see this continue all the way down. Again, some other ideas of what other towns do to create a sense of place. And the orange top is a little bit more of a challenge because the sidewalks aren't connected. So they would have to be connected at least through markings of some sort. Okay, now more safety and traffic calming ideas. We talked to the DOT about a crosswalk at Hospital Road that would connect the east side and the west side of the Hamlet Business District. They are willing to take a look at that. All it would require to get started is a referendum or a decision by the town board to ask them to study it. There's 9 separate things they do study to make sure it's feasible, and then at least we would know. But that would be something to get started. And it would also help with the traffic calming, especially if we could put a traffic light there. And school safety, so kids can go from one side to the other. This right now, it was very preliminary, and it's just a pedestrian crosswalk at this point in this drawing. but we would look for a full-blown crosswalk. Okay, the MTA also gave us an update on their plans, and we actually did provide them with quite a bit of feedback to help them improve their plan. This is the plan, the original plan. So to orient yourself, forget about what's on the lower right, that's just a blow up. The crosswalk connects the East Village Road to the road that comes down from the park entrance. And they have additional walkways that they're considering and sidewalks.
Do you need a traffic light there?
Yes, yes, thank you for pointing that out, Nick. Yeah, that would include a traffic light.
That would include a traffic light that's also tied to the railroad crossing signalization. It's a full-blown four-way plus trains timed crosswalk intersection development.
Yeah, that's, I'm almost finished, and then we're gonna go to questions and answers. But to follow up with that, when we did meet with them, we did give them a lot of information about pedestrian traffic that they hadn't considered for hikers and people going to the powerhouse parking lot for commuting purposes. And we also did talk to them about SOS and their large trucks I saw the other day, that when there was a train stop, the truck took up the whole space between the track and Route 17. So these are things that they have to consider. We also talked to them about another lane to relieve traffic going north. So if you were, so you don't want everybody blocked up at the traffic light if they're going north. So that we gave them the idea of adding a right turning lane. So, in summary, we need a plan. So, in order to get a plan, we need consensus. Once we have a plan built on consensus, we can go for funding. And as we like to think, or we know, the fact is there is no funding without a plan or consensus. How we're going to get that consensus? Well, we had one revitalization workshop in May. We have tonight's meeting. We have the questionnaire. We hope you will answer and provide us all your feedback. We're going to have a question and answer period after this, so we can collect all your feedback. We want to look at the east and west side of Route 17, get a consensus. We want to, in the future, look at a road diet again, and what we know now what we need to do to move that forward. Our action steps will be completing a plan. In order to complete the plan, we need a survey, and then once we have that, we'll get our engineering, architectural, landscape drawings, and we can go out for funding. Okay, our next workshop, we'll talk about the west side and along Route 17. We already had a meeting about Store Road and the connectivity, but next workshop, we'll talk about the west side, especially the challenges we have between Library Road and Hospital Road, the extension of our sidewalks to the Historical Society, all of those challenges and options. And we want to talk again about the main issues that everybody cares about. Connectivity, safety. We do have on that side town-owned streets, and we want to talk about the opportunities for beautification and safety there, talking about parking options, and the road diet review. So thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. And now I'd like to open it up for questions and answers.
We just have to have the microphone. Let me take this off.
Deirdre, do you have any more comments before we go to Q&A?
Q&A.
Okay, off we go. Now, when you get this microphone, it's not going to amplify your voice, okay? It's only for the purpose of the people participating online to be able to hear you. So don't be unnerved if it's not amplifying your voice. You could just, okay. Would you mind just saying your name and where you live? So,
Hi, this is Kelly Spranger. I live at 80 Alexander in Eagle Valley area of Tuxedo. And I had a couple of questions. So my first one was, has your group contacted Suffern and Sloatsburg? And the reason why I ask is way back in 2013 or 15, whatever it was, there was talk of the corridor, as in having a cohesive look to the entire stretch from Suffern all the way through Sloatsburg, Tuxedo, and up to Harriman. So my first question was, you know, to be cohesive also with our neighboring towns, have there been discussions with the Chamber of Commerce and the people in Sloatsburg and the people in Suffern? That was my first question. My second question was, I love the presentation and the pictures. I think it's beautiful. I think the concept is vital to our community. I love it. Love everything about it. I guess my only other question was, do we really need more parking? And the reason why I asked that is because currently we don't have a lot of people at the moment from what I see, because I'm up and down every single day in town. Kids at school, dropping the dogs off, and I can always find a parking spot at the library or at Reggie Bar when they're closed, or the train station. So absolutely sidewalks, absolutely, but I guess I always feel like more parking is not really beautification, it's more concrete. So that was my second question.
okay, the first question, thank you for reminding me about all those meetings we had with Suffern and Sloatsburg. I forgot to write about that, but those were fun meetings. We did meet with Alex, who is the Chamber of Commerce in Suffern, and she was really the ringleader in that. Noreen, you were involved with those meetings. We met with the chamber that incorporates Tuxedo and Sloatsburg. And yeah, I agree that we should go back to that, but.
But we
No.
have talked to Sloatsburg about the road diet, and we have talked to Sloatsburg about how they feel about the road diet. A lot of people have asked us to talk to them about our traffic concerns, because we definitely do have them. So we have been in touch with Sloatsburg, and they love their road diet. They're not changing it. So.
What's the term you're using? Road?
So you know how the road, yeah, it's called the road diet. It's actually a term where you have turning lanes, through lanes, and you basically also do sidewalks alongside of it, which is what what Sloatsburg did, which is causing a problem from the Tuxedo traffic coming down Route 17 and going into Sloatsburg. It's causing a bottleneck because we go from 4 lanes to 2 lanes. So it is causing a problem, and we're going to have to deal with that. But in terms of talking to them, we do want to make sure that we are in touch with them about making a cohesive transformation from along the corridor, because hopefully we could be able to add bike lanes, pedestrian lanes, and those things, connecting all of it together. So yes, that's true.
I think they came up with the word road diet from going from 4 lanes to
2
3,
lanes,
well,
yeah.
1 in each direction with a middle turning
Is
lane.
it a Department of Transportation term?
It
Yes.
actually
Yes.
It is
is.
a
Okay.
term of art, and
Okay.
engineers are really bad at naming things.
Got it.
Yeah.
Good.
I should have I defined that earlier. Your second question about more parking, there have been several businesses looking in town who say that there's not enough parking. So, and the other day I went to the train station, both the train station upper lot and the lower lot, there were 50 cars in the lower lot and only 4 available spaces in the upper lot. So, you know, people are going back to work and starting to commute again. The other issue is that there are only, Van Zant is actually a town road, and that's next to the sushi, Tuxedo Sushi. And those are public parking spaces that are town-owned parking spaces. And the only other options are basically along Store Road. All the other parking is privately owned. Between Lorde Partners that owns Tuxedo Square, they own the building where Reggie is, they own the parking lot between Reggie Bar Building and the library, and on the other side, then of course Tuxedo Hudson owns their parking lot. So we're looking for public parking. That's what businesses looking to come into town want to know. Not how much is owned by other people, but how much is available for everybody. Okay.
I'm Suzanne, I live in the Woodlands. I have 2 questions, really. You kept talking about private property on the west side,
Yes.
and is that in a survey?
Well, we know that it's not owned by the town.
Right.
So-
So is that survey private property issue as much on the east side as the west side? And how much does the survey cost? I have no idea.
Well, we need a comprehensive survey.
So you gotta do both?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. To really have a comprehensive plan, to really know what the options are, we really need to know where's the DOT. And over the years, the DOT's right away was a certain distance, and then they told us at our last meeting that
They don't know.
they don't know.
They don't. And help with the survey, the DOT?
No.
No,
Okay.
unfortunately not.
All right. I was just thinking you'd have to start with the survey. I think that would be
Well-
like step 1.
Yeah, that is consensus, plan, survey, yep. Here, let me put this on. Sit on the knee.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Bill Lemansky, Benjamin Meadow Road. About regarding your traffic light at East Village Road in 17. About 20 years ago, the town board was interested in putting a traffic light there, but the DOT wouldn't hear of it. Have they changed their opinion on that? Is there any chance of that now occurring?
Yeah, well, this is now the MTA plan, the railroad.
Yeah.
It's their plan, and they said they were about 90% through, right?
And they're working with the DOT.
90%
yeah.
their review with the DOT.
The decision on a light there is the DOT,
Yes.
though, is it not?
Yes, but they're really
They seem very
working
opposed
together.
to it.
It's now currently part of the rail safety initiatives that are happening, so that there's no longer collisions between cars and so because this would be a crossing controlled signal, I'm guessing there's some federal mandates going on in there somewhere, but this seems to be a real plan.
Well, that's good to hear, because it would moderate a lot of the traffic that blows right through town.
Well, there's a lot of happening there with the train lines, adding a second line. Right now, it's a single rail going up and down. So, it's letting some of these other bigger federally funded projects work their magic, so you can see how New York State has to respond, and then even down into Sloatsburg when Tuxedo Farms is built. So there'll be a lot more to consider. But, yeah, complicated, but I think you need the Goliaths to weigh in.
Yeah, I hope it works.
Yeah, absolutely.
Michelle? So just to confirm, there would be 3 lights in town? The current 2?
4 actually, if you
plus adding
consider
this one.
Schoolhouse Road by the fire station.
Right, I'm thinking of that one.
And then Library Road, the new MTA one, and then maybe Hospital Road, so that you could have that pedestrian connection between the east and west side. A lot. Well, they would be coordinated. They have a lot of programs now to, so you're not stopping and going. Synchronized, thank you. I was looking for that right word, thank you.
If the lights are properly timed and you're driving the speed limit, you'll never know they're there.
Michelle, can I ask you a question?
Oh,
I know that.
is your
I'm sorry.
microphone on?
Yeah, it's on. So I know that we'd asked for a complete street, which is what Suffern, with Stolzberg had, this grant from New York State called Complete Street. And I know that when we applied for it a while back or even recently, they said no. But I was thinking, once Tuxedo Farm goes online, I wonder if they will reconsider, because what's nice about that is that they pay for about 80% of the cost of, like the same thing that happened with Slotsburg, which is like the sidewalks with the inlays and all that stuff. So is that a possibility? Have you talked to them
That's
about
what
it?
yeah, it's certainly on what we're hoping to build consensus around, get the survey, get a plan, get our engineering drawings, architectural drawings, and then you can go. Because twice I've submitted applications to the statewide economic development programming, and we just didn't have a plan. It was a description of a plan. And both times they said, we're not even going to consider your application until you have a plan. And not just an idea, but actual engineering drawings.
Yeah.
So we have to do the initial investment ourselves. Who has the mic? Jerry.
So connectivity.
Oh, your name, Jerry, first.
I'm Terry Howard. I live in Tuxedo Park on Acoma Road. So connectivity is a lovely idea. It's a lovely idea to have good-looking, broad sidewalks that are landscapes. But there's a missing term here, and that's things to connect to. You keep raising the ghost of Orange Top, and don't we wish it was still here? Every day I drive up 17, and I hope maybe that nice-looking building will actually have a tenant. The restaurant that doesn't exist now.
Yeah.
There's another place that used to be a restaurant that Michael Bruno bought that's used to be Tuxedo Station. That's hidden back and nobody thinks of it anymore. And what I'm getting at is that the economic part of this development isn't quite there yet. I don't feel. I'm not feeling that restaurant, that building is going to be occupied by a restaurant anytime soon, because it has been there for about a year and nothing's happened. Is there a plan to attract businesses to connect to in downtown Tuxedo, so you'd have a reason to walk from here to there?
Yeah, that's a good point to segue over to Bonnie Franson, our town planner, who is working with Valerie Menastra in her office to develop such an economic study, and I'll let Bonnie speak to that in a minute about what the goals are. But and also it might be a little bit, what comes first? Make the town beautiful so businesses want to relocate here, or hope they relocate here and then make it beautiful. So I kind of go with the first, but we have to get consensus about that.
Hope doesn't feel like a plan.
Well, it's a plan to beautify the downtown, which would then hopefully, well, I used that word again, my fault. That would encourage businesses to come to town. But let me...
Doubling the town's population would be attractive to businesses too.
Oh, absolutely.
Which has apparently happened.
And that's
any
really...
decade now.
Yeah, that really is the objectives of the Tuxedo Local Development Corporation. We mentioned before that we talked about all the matching grants that have been awarded. Why do you think Tuxedo Farms developer wanted to give money to the downtown? Because they want to attract people to their development, right? So that's, the main objective of why they gave $2.1 million to the downtown to, beautify itself and renovate and historic buildings, provide funds for that purpose. So if you don't mind, I will.
Well, Mr. Howard, I can understand your skepticism after 30 years of waiting for this project, but I go to all the planning meetings and absolutely can assure you that the deed was paid and transferred on, I think it was September 15th to Lennar. So, you know, they're spending tens of millions of dollars, and if you come to a planning board meeting, you'll see that the applicants are there every meeting. I know we have the chair of the planning board, and the next meeting is, I believe, tomorrow night. And so,
I'll be very glad when it happens.
well, I'm happy to say that this board made it happen. So, you know, your point though about having 1,600 new residences in the development eventually, that's what I've always heard from business owners is there's not enough population here to drive customers. So that's the next big step, and I can assure you it's coming.
So, before we go to the next comment, Noreen, first I want Bonnie to explain about the Gateway Community Grant Study.
Well, so there's actually a couple of comments I want to make related to what you were mentioning in your comments, is that when the comprehensive plan was developed, the town considered how much additional market, and this was a little while ago, could be supported, because at the time, we were looking at Tuxedo Farms, which was 1,200 units, but then you also had the Sterling Forest project that was proposed. We also have to remember that there's another large project, but another large property which could be developed, which is the Ren Fair property. So,
Sorry, what property?
the Renaissance Festival, the Renaissance Fair, that's privately owned. So at the time, my recollection is that, and it was a market study that was done, the town with those developments could support something like another 50,000 square feet of commercial space. And when Tuxedo Farms was being reviewed for its layout, the town board at that time required that northerly access point, because the intent was to link Tuxedo Farms to the Hamlet area. And they wanted to capture some of that demand. The other thing that people aren't aware of, because it was so long ago, there was a lot of non-residential zoning that was on the Tuxedo Farms property where it's going to be built. Part of the quid pro quo was they received a lot of, they received rezonings to allow all the residential that's proposed, but they were somewhat capped on the on-site retail uses that are going to go there, because the town wanted some of that to benefit other parts of the town, including Route 17, including the Hamlet. So that's some of the history. So what we don't think about, and which is imminent, is that Tuxedo Farms is finally moving forward. It's going to happen. It's happening with 400 additional residential dwelling units, creating a big demand that the intent is that it be captured within, again, the Hamlet area and in the town of Tuxedo. Now, the town had applied for and received Greenway funding to do a little mini economic development study to see where we are now. And part of that analysis includes, describing what is the market area for this area. And so that's, information on demographics and census and sort of where are we evolving. Economic trends, so to look at major employers within the market area, commercial establishments, vacant commercial properties, sales leakage or surplus. So, how much of the town's spending is happening elsewhere versus in this town. So that's part of the study. Then there's a separate little analysis of tourism potential, because some of the businesses like Dottie Audrey's actually relies on the traveling public. That is not being supported just by Tuxedo alone. It's very popular. It's very successful, and it's drawing from a larger area, as is some of the places you see in Sloatsburg that happened with some of the redevelopment down there. So We get people coming to the train station, there are people who are visiting, there are a lot of people who pass by on their way to Warwick. And so the question is, how does the town, capture some of that demand? And then ultimately to look at opportunity sites and see what can be reused for development, for commercial development. And that'll all be captured in a plan that would summarize the findings. So that's dovetailing with the Hamlet study. The Greenway study, I believe, is looking more at the corridor.
The entire corridor.
The entire corridor from kind of I think the dog kennel is really the northerlymost commercial establishment along Route 17, all the way down to the Sloatsburg, Orange County line, and boundary with the town of Tuxedo. So all of this is in plans, all of this has been envisioned and thought about for quite some time period by many town boards. It's this town board that at this point has really worked to get Tuxedo Farms to a place where they're moving forward. And there have been, other challenges along the way, but finally with the purchase by Lennar, is pushing it forward, which is going the effects to be felt in a positive way in the Hamlet.
Thanks. Hey, Noreen has the mic.
Hi, Noreen Fennell. I live in Laurel Ridge. Since the comprehensive survey is integral to the beautification plans, or making any plans for Tuxedo, and the LDC is funding or will fund beautification efforts, is it possible to ask the LDC to fund a comprehensive survey so we could move on with that piece?
You mean the the survey of who owns what? That,
yes.
Like an actual
Right.
engineering type survey? We can apply for that. Yeah, certainly. The LDC funded 50% of the cost of the improvements to the train station that are underway. So there's a little precedent for that.
Right, since that seems to be something that we would need to do to move forward.
We absolutely need a survey, yes. We have some estimates for what that would cost. The town could just invest directly in that, or we can apply for funding. But really, to get a plan funded, you really do need a survey and a plan. So it probably, we need consensus, obviously, among the town board and the public, but to invest in our own town by getting a survey and a plan so that we can go out for the other types of funding. Does that answer?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
As I said, it seems that that would have to be a necessary next step to go to anything, and the LDC funds are there, and they can't, some of them can't be used unless there is surveys done to allow for it to be, the beautification to be done. So if they could fund that, that would help us move forward.
Sounds like a good option. I think Jake was next, or oh, sorry.
Hi, Jake Matthews, Pine Road, Tuxedo Park. Thanks for the presentation, was really well put together. I think that, doing sidewalks and these improvements is fantastic, and I think it's integral to making the Hamlet successful. I sell real estate in the area, and have fact that people pass over Tuxedo from time to time for other areas because they don't consider the Hamlet to be a real walkable hamlet. So this connectivity, I think, is key. And the walking connectivity, bicycling, those things. Question before I forget, will your west side presentation consider connectivity to the farms, to the new development?
We will eventually put that in. Think we can do it all in one?
There's so many obstacles when you get to a certain point in Route 17 where for complete streets and those types of things with the DOT challenges, that we haven't been able to figure that out yet. But we are working on trying to figure out how we can go from this stage, which is the East Village, to the Orange Top, how we can go from there to Tuxedo Farms, and how we can go from the East Village to Powerhouse Park, to incorporate it all into a town center.
I think any headway you can make on any of it is super important, but that connectivity, I think, is gonna be very important to
Yeah.
the whole picture. Now, when Sloatsburg was considering their road diet, I've always viewed, I've lived here for many, many years, and Route 17 in Tuxedo is too fast. People do not stop here. It's just too high rate of flow of traffic, and it's breeze right through. And I think if you do trees and lighting and sidewalks, without a road diet, I think people are still gonna breeze right through. So I think the road diet is critical to the success of this project and critical to making Tuxedo a destination. The roads, people's lives are the most important thing. The roads are unsafe right now traveling through here. It's head on, no turning lanes. There was a lot of consternation online in Facebook groups when Sloatsburg was going to make their road diet. People were saying, we're going to be in traffic for hours and hours. It is the smoothest, calmest, safest travel I've ever had through there in my 46 years here in Tuxedo. And yeah, it bottlenecks now and again, but at the end of the day, it's a big improvement. And the connectivity, the walkability, say from Sunnyside, what used to be Sunnyside, down all the way to the main district of Sloatsburg, it improves the quality of life for the residents who live there because they have good sidewalks. They used to be broken down and beat up. Nobody walked there. Now people walk there, they exercise there, and I believe it increases real estate values. So I would push forward with whatever you can get done on these plans. Get the money that you can get, integrate it with this Greenway thing, and but keep in mind, in my opinion, that road diet is critical to the success of the long-term success of it. Because short of that, people are just going to continue to breeze through Tuxedo. And that goes to Gerald's point is, the end goal is the economic vitality of the hamlet, so this will contribute to it, but I think you've got to look at that better. And the width of the sidewalks could be better if you have the road diet.
Well, absolutely. The road diet is very important. It's a multi-year project. So, we're looking at a multi-pronged, multi-year projects, right? Or approach, I should say.
If you can get crosswalks now, I think that's a big improvement. You have to go from, you have to walk long stretches of town to get to the next crosswalk.
Right.
That degrades the viability of the local retail businesses, the mom and pop shops. Need that connectivity from one side to the other.
Well, right now you have a crosswalk by the library and by the school and nothing in between. That's why we want one. We would hopefully be able to get one at.
Dale Matola's been waiting quite a while.
I know a lot of people are, yeah. Dale, Kelly, Nick, Bonnie. But I do want Bonnie. Yeah, I know that Bonnie is going to talk about, I know what she's going to say. She's going to talk about the connectivity to Tuxedo Farms, because we've talked about that over and over again.
Yeah.
And we've looked at all different options, and we've talked about it. And there are ways we can get it done, because I will let Bonnie.
There are some opportunities that weren't necessarily planned. The planned opportunities may not be the optimal. So there is an easement, there is a utility line connection where it could bring you from the development closer in to the hamlet, but it would require some serious improvements to get you down to grade. Where that that concrete wall is now? Well, that is actually the utility line, I believe, coming into the site. That grade isn't bad, but once you get to that point, there has to be a way to get down. But I did actually want to talk about Sloatsburg. Their road diet evolved from a comprehensive plan I worked on, and that got adopted in 2007. So at the time, New York State DOT was very involved in participating in comprehensive planning processes, and so there was someone who sat on the committee that would come from DOT to hear about all the issues that Sloatsburg had with traffic, because exactly the same issues with the speeding, safety, narrow sidewalks, et cetera. So they adopted all the recommendations in their comprehensive plan, and they just continued to pursue it with DOT, squeaky wheel. But think about how long, since 2007, it took to come to fruition, because it had to be engineered, it had to be studied, there were traffic studies, and here it is. But my point is just simply, it did evolve from comprehensive planning. And once that was in place, when you go for grants, when you go for funding, et cetera, you have a document that says, this is what our intent is, as opposed to saying this is our intent and having nothing to back it up. So that's just what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Yeah, Dale. But also with the comprehensive plan, when we met with the DOT up in Poughkeepsie, they said that we should have specifications for sidewalks whenever any property owner wants to do an improvement. So going forward, we need to do that. That they would have to be to DOT specs. We could put in the comprehensive plan that any new development would need sidewalks with streetscapes, lighting, trees, landscaping, benches. So we can do that. So I don't know if it's actually in the comprehensive plan now.
No, it's conceptual. It's conceptual.
We need to.
Plan, which is really part of comprehensive planning.
Yeah.
However, if it is in the comprehensive plan, the DOT is obligated, once they come down to redo Route 17, they are obligated to follow our comprehensive plan, and they have to pay for it. So there is a benefit to putting it into the comprehensive plan, but having a plan is the most important part to put it into the comprehensive plan, which the DOT has to follow.
And then Dale, and then Kelly, Nick, and Bonnie. Oh, you had one.
Dale Matola, the Hamlet. I just wanted to add a comment about parking in the Hamlet area. As businesses apply to start a business in town, parking is part of what they have to attest to, that they have enough parking for whatever use the business is. So we wouldn't want to take away anything that they might have to have, because that's going to tie their hands behind their back if the parking isn't available that they're required to have as a particular business.
Well, yeah, that was the old zoning. In January of what year was it, Ken?
2020.
2020.
We changed that zoning to make it, they didn't have to have so many spots for a particular use. So it used to be if it were a restaurant, it needed so many spots per table or seats or whatever. We did away with that. And to hopefully encourage businesses to come and not have to worry about what was actually required by zoning.
I think we also changed the dimensions, right, of the parking
We did.
spaces.
Yeah.
We changed the dimension because they were like very old fashioned when people had like huge, cars. So, so we were able to make more spots by making the dimension smaller.
But we still need more parking, is your point? Yes.
Yes, we
Yeah,
still
and the
do.
next workshop, we'll discuss that.
Yeah, we'll focus more on that. Would you mind, Bonnie's right in front of you, and then hand it down to Kelly.
Bonnie Takeuchi, Schoolhouse Lane. We do have a crosswalk at the bottom of Schoolhouse Road over to the ambulance building. However, when you cross the crosswalk, your life is in your hands because there is no sidewalk there. And you're mentioning the former Orange Top, hopefully, getting a new tenant, and people in town are really looking forward to having a place to go and gather. There's a whole community of people coming out of the school, Circle Road. I used to have to take my kids to the ice cream place by car because I felt they'd get killed walking along the in front of the firehouse. So the same thing happens if you want to walk to the whatever restaurant goes in there. But it seemed that your plan stopped probably, I don't know, for ownership reasons, I don't know why, at the Orange Top. But so we have the advantage of the crosswalk, but we don't have anything to do once you're on the other side of it. The second point is, there was that sort of no man's land of I think there were old gas tanks in there, and that space between the orange shop and the ambulance building. It was cleared, it was improved, but now it's overgrowing again. That's a nice little pocket of land. I don't know the ownership though, but, you know, that could possibly be of use. And the last point is planting trees along the east side is great because their power lines are not on the east side of Route 17. And then you don't have to trim your trees to these, you know, what looks like out of a Dr. Seuss book. You know, you have to cut them back in such horrible ways. So I encourage, I love trees, so I encourage that.
Yeah, thank you, Bonnie. Yeah, that property that was cleared is owned by the same people who own the dark brick mercantile building, the orange top, and the other building. It basically, Augusta Properties is from Carlin Buildings all the way to the ambulance corps, owned by Augusta Properties. They have a plan that was approved by the planning board for that area. I don't know, Ken, you have an update on when that might happen?
No.
But,
No, obviously need to finish what is still called the Orange Top. And I was in there less than 2 weeks ago. It's almost completed on the interior, so the parking lot will be paved in the next couple of weeks, and new signage, and should attract a tenant. It'll be ready, and again, with the matching funds, the owner of the property had to put up money, so he's paying property taxes and paid to renovate the building, so I doubt he was encouraged to not find a tenant. I know there's negotiations, but I'm not at liberty to divulge any of that, but of course he's trying to find a tenant. And a restaurant.
and Kelly is next, and then Suzanne, and then Nick.
I just wanted to add a comment to Jake.
Jake's.
About what he was saying. In Sloatsburg, I don't know what year it was, but when Michael Bruno did Valley Rock, he added, or the town added, a crosswalk from the strip mall at Dunkin' Donuts across to the gallery and Valley Rock. And at the time, I thought, that's ridiculous because no one's going to need it, no one's going to use it. It is used all the time. And I've noticed over the last, however long it's been there, 2 years, maybe 3 years, it has slowed the traffic down. It allows for people to cross safely. It goes from a bus stop over to that side so that it can be utilized for the beer place, Seven Lake Station, and the hair salon, and all those shops. And even you can cross now from Dunkin' Donuts to go to up to Characters. So just having that little flashing red light has made a huge difference in safety and connectivity in their town. So I applaud whoever made that happen, or, you know.
Oh, I did. Only the stuff you want to applaud.
That's part of the road diet.
I'm sorry, excuse me.
That was part of the road diet, and
2
Bonnie
or
has
3.
some additional information on that.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say that was part of the road diet, and what people may not entirely be aware of, or they just don't think about, is the library there. They have the library, and also there's a senior center that's next to the library. So they wanted to provide that safe crossing for the seniors and for the kids who are coming from the other side of town. And it's an actuated signal, so that if someone's in the crosswalk, that crossing can occur. Yeah.
Bonnie, Woodgrove, those those apartments.
Yep.
I think that once they started going up, that's actually when all the road diet stuff started to change, because they had to add new entrances and exits and things like that. Was that related, or?
No, because, well.
That's an unincorporated Ramapo.
That's in Ramapo, not
That's not in
Sloatsburg.
Sloatsburg.
Yeah.
So it's not part of their road
It
diet.
feels like it's Sloatsburg, but it's
But it
actually
isn't.
already in the
Yeah.
town.
Oh,
Right.
interesting.
Yeah, so a pedestrian crosswalk like what they have in Sloatsburg is where we would start at Hospital Road, but we also want to explore a full crosswalk traffic light. You know, that would be synchronized.
Both, having both.
Yeah, yes, I bet at a minimum, what they have in Sloatsburg there. But I think a full-blown traffic light would be even safer.
But you can have both.
Well, it really depends on the
We'll see what we
DOT.
can get.
The DOT makes those rules.
Yeah, it all depends on DOT if
Yeah.
they will allow that many traffic lights in a town. So where are we, Nick?
Yes, the crosswalks, the connectivities, that's all well and good, but you said earlier that people are looking to maybe bring a business into Tuxedo. Does that require allocating property? Do they need a new property to put this on? Because it's a shame to use, I know we need parking spaces, but that big tract of land, which is very impressive between the orange top and the ambulance, can we build other establishments that actually attract people? Because like the question I ask myself is, why do I want to come to Tuxedo? I mean, the people who come to Tuxedo, I see predominantly are hikers. They don't need connectivity. They walk through the brush. They don't need roads. They don't need sidewalks. So the piece of property alongside of the post office, can we bring a business in there? Can we find places to attract people? The powerhouse, that property along the river, because I like to look at water going by, okay? And is there a way of developing that we call it River Walk, where you have a raised walkway with even shops on top and maybe shops underneath, because you have to have a reason to come here. I like trees, I like lamps, but just to put flowers out really doesn't cut it. So we need property, we need buildings, the connectivity, but like the gentleman said over here from Tuxedo Park, we have all this connectivity, but what does it connect to? So we need more buildings, and of course we need population. But I don't know if bakeries work or whatever else. You go to some of these towns and they always have candle shops. It always smells so good. Right? So, but I don't know what attracts people, and but we have to have something to attract people besides sidewalks, trees, and lamps.
So if we look at what is available, that's the Greenway study. We've done a survey of all the vacancies that are available for businesses to open up that exist right now, and what other opportunities there are. So that's definitely part of the Greenway study that we're doing, and trying to decide which businesses would be successful. So do what we can.
Powerhouse is in the 100-year floodplain.
Oh, yes, that's right. Powerhouse Park is in a flood, oh, thank you so much for coming. Is in a floodplain, so that definitely would limit it. But I think in the comprehensive plan, there was mention of a river walk. Isn't there?
River walk,
Yeah.
I'm thinking more about buildings and.
Yeah, but, not the buildings, but in the comprehensive plan.
There's lots of opportunities is the point.
Yes, yeah, and you know, the comprehensive plan was developed with input from residents. So residents said they want a river walk along, you know, the Ramsco River. And that's a perfect use for Powerhouse Park. So, you know, these are many, many things that we can do. As I say, you know, the revitalization and beautification is multi-pronged and multi-yeared, and we're focusing on a couple of things right now, but definitely I agree with you about the Riverwalk. Anything else?
A lot of it is working with the businesses that are already here. And I'm on the Tuxedo LDC, I'm the chair of it. Never thought it would be so hard to give away $1.1 million. No joke aside. So we've knocked on every one of those doors and reached out several times, Deirdre and Michelle. So, that whole stakeholder buy-in is critical. A lot of these ideas, Michelle and Deirdre have been working on, absolutely. I can't imagine most people wouldn't support them. Connectivity, this whole sense of safety and a streetscape that's attractive and hopefully does slow people down. But it also very heavily depends on private investors. People who own these buildings now, it's really difficult to try to get them to step up. We're going to keep encouraging them. I have hope that between the restaurant reopening, seeing that the Carlin building, that when I first moved to town, I heard, oh my God, this Carlin building, I didn't know what it was called, but people said, oh, that would never be fixed up. Steve Germano invested over $1 million in a pizza place. So that takes private investment and vision. So what drove him to it? He's totally jazzed up about the potential for Tuxedo Farms, and he's willing to invest more money in the town. And, it's unfortunate that the development happened down in Sloatsburg and not in Tuxedo, but we're poised now, finally, for that kind of attraction. And it has a lot to do with the sequencing. Michelle talked earlier about a multi-pronged approach. Absolutely. You don't want to do a study that sits on a shelf and you spend a lot of money on it. But you do need a study, agree 100%. The level of detail may vary depending on the agency you're talking to. And you got to figure out what we call the low-hanging fruit. What can get done? That's what we're trying to do right now here in Tuxedo. And so when you see the billboard go up, Tuxedo Farms coming soon, and you will see that very soon. No joke. You want people driving through town to see these projects. The Tuxedo Gulf Station is going gangbusters now. That project will be finished in about 6 months or less. With the restaurant across the street, with the Carlin Warehouse building fixed up, with the Chase Bank becoming not only the historical society, but a welcoming center to Tuxedo, connecting with the revamped train station. We are trying to get people to slow down, and a lot of the elements that you saw in this presentation here could happen, absolutely. The sequencing has to be right. Work with our partners at the library, trying to improve the streetscape out there. So there's a lot that can be done. The sequencing is very important so that we don't spend a lot of money on studies that don't actually go anywhere. I mean, there were studies done when they were first conceiving Tuxedo Reserve, as it was called back then. I could show you in my office. There's studies that put a bow in the bookcase because they're so heavy and they just sat there. But I do believe what Michelle and Deirdre are working on here, they're definitely looking at, stages and what could happen. But you do have to have a bigger vision. I was in Kingston the other day, and yeah, that was a town that was not doing well. It's definitely on the rise. I could tell you Tuxedo's on the rise now, but it does take an extended vision to make it continue to grow. And I applaud these ladies for their efforts that they put in. And you can applaud them too.
Do we have anybody at home?
I know Suzanne had a question. Make sure it's.
Well, I just wanted to recount that after the rain stopped and they finally got the building materials out over there at Tuxedo Gulf, I started getting so excited every time I drove by. In fact, instead of going the back way into the park, I chose specifically to drive through town to see what the progress was there. And one day, it was framed in such a way that it appeared to be 6 big bays with an entrance in the middle. And I just got so excited because I was envisioning 6 independent small stores there that we could all, a little shoemaker store or whatever. I thought, oh, this is great. It's not going to be one of those bolo or whatever it is, it's always associated with a gas station. And I still don't know what, I'm just telling you the feeling that I had after living here for 32 years and being very accustomed to not having anything in the town, or whatever we had left and went to, you know, in case of the pharmacy, Sloatsburg, and et cetera. And I want to be hopeful, and I have such love for the town of Tuxedo and the Hamlet, because it's so tied to history, and the history is such a good one, at least what I know of it. And the little shops that were there in Tuxedo Square, even I could even imagine a clock repair store or something like that. I mean, it was just sort of a vision that when I saw the framing here, I thought, okay, we're getting it here. And maybe maybe there'll be a connection between the way Tuxedo Square looks and this looks. So so is there? I mean, was that ever a part of the plan? Were they asked, what is your architectural plan?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Certainly.
So
Bill
what is it
Lemansky's
gonna
on the
be?
planning board,
What is it going to be?
And Chris
Tell me.
Casper's.
and Chris Casker's here.
I'm so eager.
I'm sorry?
Just want to know what are we going to have there?
Well, there will be selling gas. It will not be an auto repair place anymore.
Right, what about the little storefront?
Bill, do you have any?
It's a bagel shop. They're gonna be.
I understand it to be,
It's gonna be like one of these convenience stores,
Okay.
and it certainly will be more aesthetically pleasing than what was there before. Say that. I'm on the planning board, and they've been presenting to us numerous times.
so you asked about the architectural style. That's part of the,
Attempt to connect
that's part of the planning board's role to steer the architectural design into something that's compatible to Tuxedo, although there's no one standard. But I went to many of the planning board meetings, and the owners were very receptive. And so, they were very open to making it a high-quality design. And, I watched the planning board go back and forth with them. That's their bailiwick, and they did a great job. So the plans are available to be seen in the building.
I'm envisioning gas and milk.
Yeah, that for sure. I heard them talk about, more of a coffee shop there too, as well. But, I think also part of it is, you build something on speculation, and I think the buildings are flexible enough to respond to, what the market actually dictates. So I don't know about a clock store because,
I will wrap this up. There was one when I think Nick asked about more property for buildings, and that property that was cleared by Augusta is intended to be 2 more retail spaces. Okay, they've already got
that plan's
for that.
approved already. They can build it tomorrow.
So I guess we'll wrap it up. I thank you so much for sitting here for so long.
I'd like to see your responses to the survey.
Yeah, please.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Well, where can we drop them off?
Right here.
Okay.
Later?
I'll point you to them.
Oh, thank you. Oh, Bill,
Yeah, you
That's a
can
great
scan
idea.
it.
Yeah.
Scan them, I'll take a photo and mail them in.